Greetings, my friends. Welcome to this evening of folklore, story, and song. So good to see you, be with you here. I've heard it said by an author, a shaman, a teacher that I've appreciated learning from, Martin Pretel, that when he's around technology, it just kind of breaks. It just goes haywire. I think it's due to all his spiritual energy, and I've been feeling that tonight. Just a lot of spiritual energy, it's breaking things. So watch out, I'm just going to bring the house down here. Gonna ease in with another song, and then we're going to enter a different space, a space of story, and I'll kind of invite you gently into that space. But first, a song from Mia.
The tuning is a part of the song. Creating the soundscape.
I invite you to calibrate yourselves, tune in to the frequencies.
Can bear my heart on the wires and concrete. Close my eyes to the burning tide. Life is no life, it'll never be saved. Walking ahead to a holy grave. has never been tamed. Blood of old running through my veins. Lie me down the root and ground. Meet me down, one who down. Can bear my heart on the wise and concrete. Close my eyes to the burning tide. Life is my life and I'll never be saved. Walking ahead to the holy grave. Plant my heart in the mountain street. To my ear the hope of dreams. Lay me down the root and ground. Meet me down, one foot down. Wind of the west can break my bone. No heaven, no hell, no curse my soul. Cross that river with my head held high. Pitch myself with the rising tide. High, high the river tide. Flow, flow the river tide. High, high the river tide. Flow, flow the river tide. High, high the river tide. Flow, flow the river tide.
As we engage with this story tonight, I just invite you to think about, or just to notice what parts of the story stick out for you, what activates an emotion in you, and to also consider, as you hear the story, that the characters may represent part of your own inner world. And so if there's something that is bringing up some feeling or some emotion, you can also examine, oh, maybe it's not about, this princess in a castle, but maybe it's about some part of myself. So just kind of hold those things while we So in this time here we have some lovely herbal tea that you're welcome to grab if you haven't already in the back of the room there. I invite us to settle in, just to feel supported by the chair that you're in at this time. Maybe take a deeper breath if that feels good to do. I always breathe deeply when I come in here. It just smells so good. invite you to go on a little visualization journey with me. If it's comfortable to do so, maybe close your eyes or just find a soft, unfocused gaze. And you can picture yourself just taking a little trip here to a place in nature that you love, a place that feeds your soul, where you feel safe and alive. And you go into this place, and with you, you have a picnic basket and a blanket. And you find a spot that's appropriate to just set up a little picnic. You've got a thermos of tea there, you pour a couple of cups. One for you and one for the guest you're inviting today. That part of yourself that is connected to the ancient ways. That part of yourself that is deeply wild and free. You're pouring that cup of tea and just setting a place, an invitation for that wild self to emerge and join you on a journey in the realm of story. We're going to sing this invitation. Use our voices to invite this wild self to come and join us. It goes like this. My heart is beating, 1, 2, 3, I call the wild within me. My heart is beating, 1, 2, 3, I call the wild within me. So just breathe here and imagine you're sitting with your tea and noticing what sort of being emerges to join you on your picnic blanket. We'll sing together. My heart is beating, 1, 2, 3, I call the wild within me. My heart is beating, 1, 2, 3, I call the wild within me. Because you are a part of me. swing back with your wild self through time and space to the remote countryside of Wales, where there lived a boy and his mother, living simply off the land, homesteading, we might call it today. They had everything they needed there and were quite content. Yes, the boy grew up strong and healthy. Didn't see other people that often. But if he were to encounter someone and they asked him his name, well, he would reply, "I'm darling young son." That's what his mother called him. Now one day, this boy was hunting in the woods, and he'd grown almost to manhood now. He went off to find some meat, and he saw something that he had never seen before. Through the trees, there was a shining, a glimmering, a glinting of metal. And he saw 5 figures on horseback, so stunning, so brilliant, he was overcome. Yes, they were 5 knights wearing full suits of armor, but he didn't know anything about that. These must be the beings my mother told me about. He thought, my mother said there were angels, and he approached the knights and fell down on his knees before them, and he said, "Are you angels?" Now they looked at him rather surprised. They stopped their horses, and the leader of the group said, "No, boy, no, we're not angels. We're knights." "Well, what is that?" And he got a little brief explanation about what knights were, and the knights were rather surprised by how little he knew. He wanted to know about, well, how do you become a knight? And I said, well, King Arthur makes knights. "Oh, King Arthur, and where is he?" And they told him about King Arthur's court. And they went off, and this boy ran home to his mother. Mother, you'll never guess what I saw. These incredible men, they're called knights." And he started telling her all about the knights. And he said, "And I'm going off to King Arthur's court. I'm going to become a knight." She said, Hold on. Oh, okay, there's something I haven't told you. Now is probably a good time. Your father and your brothers, they were knights, and they were killed. It's a very dangerous profession. I didn't want you to ever learn about this or ever know anything about being a knight. But clearly, the fates had other ideas. But listen, my son, you should not become a knight. Well, he would have none of it. He was so set on becoming a knight. The only thing she could think to keep him there a little bit longer was to tell him that she was going to make him a set of clothes. And so she worked on that for a few days, and he consented to stay while the clothes were being made. But then he was determined to set off. And so he did. He set off to find King Arthur with his set of clothes and on his pony. His mother was crying, but she gave him her blessing and some words of advice, and off he went. And he looked back one time, and he was getting a little distant. He saw his mother slumped there in the doorway. And he felt sad, and he almost went back, but he had such a strong pull to go. He said, I'll be back soon, and I'll check on her. So off he rode. Now, he had a few encounters with folks as he was looking for King Arthur's court, but he eventually was pointed in the right direction. And as he was approaching this castle, riding towards him was this knight in red armor. And he thought, oh, I need me some armor like that. That is so cool. And he was just going to keep riding up to the castle, but the knight stopped him and said, "Who are you?" He said, "Well, I'm darling young son." This knight started laughing. He said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "Well, I'm going to King Arthur's court to be made a knight." He said, "Oh, ho, ho. Well, I just came from there. I don't think they're too happy right now. You see, I just stole this fine gold goblet from the king, and I spilled a little wine on the lady as well on my way out. But you tell him to send out strongest knight to fight me, or else I'll be coming back for more." Well, the boy didn't know quite what to think of that, but he rode on. And he rode his pony right into the great hall, and there was some noise and commotion, obviously. Some things had just happened in there. And he was eventually pointed in the right direction of the king, and he's riding up on his pony, and there he ended up just riding right up next to the king. The king was lost in thought. He was upset about what had just happened, thinking about his lady who had just had this wine spilled on her. So he didn't notice the boy there until the pony kind of nuzzled his arm. He looked up and said, "Oh, who are you?" "Well, I'm darling young son. I'm here to become a knight. Are you King Arthur?" "Well, that's right. Will you make me a knight, please?" Well, there's a little bit more to being a knight than just my blessing, said the king. There's a lot you have to learn. And he started to explain a little bit to the boy about what was needed. But at that point, the pony shifted a little bit and knocked King Arthur's crown off of his head. Suddenly you heard this burst of laughter. This lady had started laughing in the hall. And it all went silent as they looked at her, for this lady had not laughed in 6 years. And it was foretold. It was foretold that when she laughed, it would be in the presence of the greatest knight of all time. Now King Arthur had been ready to dismiss this boy and send him on his way. But he heard the laughter, and he believes in some of these old tales. And so he said, "All right, I'll make you a knight, darling young son." And so there he was, knighted. And then he said, "Could I have some of the red armor, please? I'd like that. It's so nice." And one of the other knights listening in said, "Oh, you can have it if you take it from him." "All right, I'll do it." King Arthur tried to dissuade him, but he wouldn't be dissuaded, and he rode out to confront the Red Knight. Now, the Red Knight saw him coming and laughed. "Oh, it's you they've sent, is it?" "That's right. King Arthur said I could have your armor. Take it off, please." "Who's going to take it off of me?" he said. "I will." And he drew. He didn't have any real weapons at this point, but he had some things fashioned out of woods and wooden spikes and things. So he drew that. The knight was a bit annoyed at this point and decided to teach darling young son a lesson. So he drew his lance and he rode towards him. And he hit him pretty hard off his pony, but he managed to stay on. And at that point, darling young son was pretty mad. And he threw one of his wooden stakes that he had, and it happened to land right in the eye of the Red Knight, and he was struck dead. Now he was working now to try to get this armor off the knight and could not figure it out. The buckles and everything was so complicated. He'd never seen anything like it. But luckily a page had snuck out of the court and followed them. And he saw what had happened, and he approached our hero here and helped him to remove the armor and put it on. He tried to encourage him to wear the silk-padded suit that the Red Knight had under his armor, standard issue. But no. Darling young son insisted on wearing his mother's homespun clothing under that armor. He got all suited up, and he rode off. Now, he has some other adventures. It's a long tale, so I won't tell you all of them today. But he did encounter, not too long after this, a knight who helped him, who mentored him a little bit. And welcome, guests. I see we have some more folks here. I want to just pause for a moment to say There are some folding chairs in this corner. If folks would like to grab a chair, perhaps we could send a few of those out. All right, so he does encounter a mentor who he stays with for a few days. He teaches him a little bit of the ways of the knighthood. But he's anxious to get home to his mother, so he doesn't stay that long. Kind of like Anakin Skywalker leaves Yoda type of deal, I think. There's a lot more to learn, but okay. And he gave him some parting advice. And he said, never kill an unarmed knight who begs for mercy. Always show them mercy. And he said, look, you need to stop asking so many questions. This guy was pretty ignorant. He asked a lot of silly questions. He said, it's unbecoming of a knight. You need to learn to keep your mouth closed and observe. To settle in and observe. And learn by what you watch and not ask so many questions. So he took this advice to heart. And he rode on to find his mother. Now we have a little soundtrack for our ride.
Chasing truly on the tall trees, talking must be calling me. Faced with the feeling that they're all just watching as I'm falling alone. Never knew a knowing honest mind could see the truth that I'd take flight if you needed proof. That I'm a wistful wish in the winter, and I'm a tranquil sage in the snow. Lonely chrome bruised, splintering, struck down by vertigo. Sleeping softly, soothing mouth like wings that brush you sweet. And I rushed in like a springtime, like daylight gotta be. A week before an equinox, I sink in equal eagerness, unmatched, unmet, beleaguered. Yes, I flooded to ruin for life. And the truth is, I thought I'd do it all. It's gotten boring. The glaciers became calm. I thought that we could go exploring. Sweet lady, I don't know how to be like you. Ragged root that grabs the granite, reaching dearly for the dew, for the dew, for the dew. Under the sick spruce I pine for the sun. Here on the plains I ache for rain. On the shores of Champlain I shop a short footing on short days. And in the desert I beg for the bumps to burn my throat. The sunset and night jar singing. But I seek the language of the wood warblers and the clear-cut forest reformers. Trees that burn red in the fall, sweet sap that runs in the spring.
So, our young knight is on his way making his way home to his mother, and it's getting a little late in the day. He's tired, he's hungry. And he comes to a river. He's trying to figure out how to get across. He's looking around. And he notices there's a boat there and 2 men in it. One of them's fishing. So he calls out to them. He says, "Hello, is there any way across here?" No way across for many, many miles. He thinks, well, is there any lodging nearby? Oh, if that's what you like, you can stay with me, called the fisherman. And he gave him some directions how to get there, to go back the way he came, and just go through a crack between these 2 big boulders, and he'd see it there. So our young knight thanked the fisherman and went on his way. He found the crack between the boulders, he rode on a ways, and then he began to get annoyed as he didn't see any house or anything around. He thought, are they just playing with me? He was about to give up and go back when he saw some turrets just between the trees and over the tops of the trees. He thought, a castle. So he rode there, and he found the drawbridge down. He rode right in. And there were assistants, pages to greet him, stable boys that took care of his horse, and he was brought to a fine room. It was the most amazing place he'd ever been to. He was given a bath and fresh clothes and taken good care of, and then brought to the great hall. And there was filled with various lords and ladies, and an old knight sitting by the fire, almost lying down and lounging there. And as he was brought closer, he realized that this was the fisherman he'd seen in the boat. Welcome, young knight," he said. "Please forgive my manners. I am not going to get up to greet you because I'm injured and I cannot rise. But please, come sit with me by the fire." And so they sat. They visited for a little while, and during this time, this wonderful sword was brought up. It was told that only one of 3 swords had been made by this master sword maker. A servant had brought it to our older knight here, who's in fact the king. And the king gave it to our young knight. He was very grateful. And then it was time to eat. And so they began to feast around the table, had course after course of fine food, fine drink. And then the strangest thing happened. A door opened up on one side of the great hall, and out of it came a young servant carrying a candelabra. Behind him, another servant carrying a lance. And as our hero was watching this lance, a drop of blood formed on the tip. And then it began to roll down until it touched the servant's hands. He thought, well, that is the strangest thing. And then behind that, a young woman emerged with a beautiful grail. This low dish was golden and jewel encrusted and shining so bright. For a moment it seemed that nothing else, no other source of light existed. It just filled the room with such beauty. Behind that, a silver platter. And they all walked through the hall and then exited the hall and entered a door on the other side. Now our young knight was very curious about all this, and he wanted to ask what was the meaning of it. But he remembered the advice of his mentor, who said not to ask so many questions, that it was unbecoming of a knight, could be rude. And so he held his tongue. But again, during the meal, this same procession passed exactly as the first time. And again, he held his tongue. And then a third time, they all walked by. And he thought, well, I'm not going to be rude. I'll follow my mentor's advice, but I'll have to ask in the morning. I'll ask a servant and see what they know about all this. So the meal finished. Our young knight sat with the king by the fire again. They had a nice chat until it got late. And the king was taken groaning and in pain off to bed. And a bed was made up for our young knight in the hall there. And he slept soundly. In the morning, he awoke. He called out, but no one answered. And he began to look around the castle, and he saw no one and nothing. This is strange, he thought. Did everyone go out and just leave me here? He went out to the grounds. He found his horse there, all saddled up and ready to go. He called out again, but heard no one. Eventually, he just gave up and decided to continue on his journey. So he rode out of that drawbridge. And as soon as he got almost to the end of that drawbridge, it started to raise up. So the horse had to leap and make the last little jump and land safely on the ground. Our young knight turned around angry and shouted, "Hey, watch out, I'm here!" But he saw no one and heard nothing. And after a few moments of shouting and getting no response, he continued on his way. He saw some hoof prints and thought he would follow those. Perhaps they all went out hunting, he thought. I'll catch up with them and learn more about what happened. So he rode on, but he came across not a hunting party, but a young maiden. A young maiden who was weeping and cradling a knight who had been slain. "What is it? What is it?" he asked. "Can I help you?" "Not unless you can bring him back alive," she said. "I can't do that." And he sat beside her, and then she looked and said, "Wait a minute, where did you come from? There's nowhere around here for many miles, and you look clean and well rested." "Well, there's just a castle not far from here. You clearly don't know the area very well. I just rode there moments ago." And she said, No, there's nothing around here. You must have been in the hall of the Fisher King." The Fisher King? I don't know about a king, but he did fish. I did see him fishing. "Tell me," she said, "did you see the lance that bleeds?" "I did." "And did you see the Grail?" "I did see the Grail." "And did you see the king who was wounded in his thigh and could not stand or rise?" "I did." "And what did you do?" "I did nothing." "Did you say anything?" "No, I didn't." "You didn't ask any questions?" "No," said the young knight, "I didn't ask any questions. I told you. I kept my lips shut." "You fool," she said. "You could have saved us all." People spend many, many years searching and have never found the Fisher King, but it is foretold that if one will just ask him the right question, he will be healed, and the land will be healed. Don't you know we're living in this time of turmoil and war? Everything's turning into a wasteland. There's no safe place anymore for humans or for other creatures. The habitats are being destroyed. You could have changed all that. "Oh," he said. He didn't know what else to say. "Well, I'll find him. I'll find him again. But first I must go home to my mother." "What is your name?" she said. "My name is Percival of Wales." For the first time, he had said his own name, and he hadn't known it until that moment. After the biggest mistake of his life, he knew his name suddenly. "Percival of Wales," she said. "Might as well be Percival the Foolish. Percival the Unfortunate. And let me tell you something about your mother, because I'm a cousin of yours. She died of grief. She's not there anymore." "Oh," Percival slumped down. "She couldn't handle you leaving," she said. "What am I to do now?" Percival said. And they sat there for a while. And then he got up and he said, "Well, I must head in a new direction. I don't know where I'm going now, but I must go. Will you come with me, lady?" "No, I don't want any help from you," she said. "But perhaps you could avenge the knight who slain me. You don't need to, but I do hate him. You can follow his tracks there if you like." And so he decided to do that, not knowing what else to do. He ended up encountering that knight and defeating that knight, as he had many others. But As he had with all the others before, he showed the knight mercy and sent him to serve at King Arthur's court. And then he went on his way, wandering through the woods. You do a nice song. Do the seeds of the sunshine.
Welcome to the new folks that just arrived.
Welcome, welcome.
Find yourself a seat. You feel like it.
We are one.
So there he is, Percival of Wales, directionless and lost. He succeeded in his original goal of becoming a knight, but now his mother is dead. He didn't know what to do. But in the meantime, his latest conquest, this knight he had defeated and sent to serve King Arthur, arrived. And he was in a long string of knights who had arrived there and explained their story that the Red Knight had defeated them and sent them. King Arthur said, I have to meet this Red Knight. Who is this who's defeating all these knights around the land? And he stood up and said, we're going to go find him. I swear I will not sleep in the same place 2 nights in a row until we do. And he rode off with a party. A little while later, maybe a few days, maybe a few weeks, hard to say, but they did encounter a Red Knight in the field. And they were at some distance, and they conferred and decided to send one of their knights forward to greet him. Now Percival was sitting there on his horse, just staring off into space, feeling sad, feeling melancholy, thinking about a lot of things. So he didn't notice this knight approaching. The knight rode right up, and still no response from Percival. So this knight took offense, and he drew his weapons and decided to attack. Now Percival, without giving him much of a glance, just drew his sword and dispatched him right there. Well, the knights watching this were pretty upset, and they conferred on what to do. Till one of the wiser ones said, well, maybe it was rude of us to just ride up on him like that. Maybe we should try a gentler approach. And so they approached together and invited him to join them in their court. And Percival agreed to do that, and he rode back with them to King Arthur's court. And King Arthur was so pleased, especially when he realized that this was the darling young son, the foolish young knight that he had knighted long ago. He decided to hold a big celebration. He had feasts, music, games, and there they were, just having a merry old time, and Percival was glad to forget himself for a little while. And on the 3rd day of the celebrations, in rode a loathly lady on a donkey. Now, a loathly lady, this is an important character in many fairy tales. She's not too pleasant to look at. This lady, she was big and strong. She had a lot of warts all over her and was rather dirty and riding her mule. And she rode right up to where Percival was seated. And she said, Percival of Wales, you could have saved us all if you had just asked one question. But no, you found the hall of the Fisher King. And you said nothing. Nothing at all. And now you have condemned us all to much suffering. And here you are celebrating, acting the part of a hero while everyone talks about your exploits and deeds. You're no hero. You should be ashamed of yourself. And then she turns around and rides right out of there. The festivities have stopped at this point. The hall is silent. All eyes on Percival. And he stands up and he says, you know, she's right. I shouldn't be here. I swear I will not sleep in the same place 2 nights until I find the hall of the Fisher King. And he got on his horse and rode out right then and there. Some say he's still out there looking for the Fisher King, but I've heard that he did, after many years, come back to the hall. And here's what I heard happen. He was brought again before the king, and he said to that king, he said, Uncle, what ails thee? And the king looked at him and said, thank you, my son. Thank you for asking that question, for with that question, you have begun to heal me and to heal the land. Let me tell you a story. Let me tell you of a time when the land was fertile and there was peace. When the people lived in right relationship with each other, with all of creation. When we guarded sacred wells that were distributed throughout the land. There was no wasteland here. Everything was beautiful. And these wells, well, they were this water of life. Any traveler could come to one of the wells, and he would be given everything he needed by a maiden of the well who would appear. And her grail would be filled with anything that he asked for, if only he asked with respect and kindness. Given food and drink, safe place to rest. Indeed, it was a beautiful time. Percival's heart filled with gladness and a great love and yearning as this story was being described. He began to feel a sense of just music bubbling up within him. And even a tambourine. Why not? Just imagine, if you will, friends, this beautiful scene. Living in reciprocity. Feeding life. It's all around us. Some dark holler, some shady grove, river take me down where the sun don't know. Some dark holler, river steer me right, hold me deep and true, love. I'll be your firefly. Oh, help me now. down where the sun don't know. Some dark holler, river steer me right, hold me deep and true, love. I'll be your firefly. So Percival's heart was filled with such joy, just imagining the beauty of this world. And the king continued his story, and he said, you know, things aren't like that anymore. And it all started with one king. A king who wasn't much of one for honor or duty. A king who forgot his sacred promise to protect the maidens of the well. Yes, one time he came upon a well and there asked for what he wanted. It was provided to him. But he thought that maiden was so beautiful and so nice that he took her grail from her. He took her grail and he took her away from that well, took advantage of her, made her serve him. And can you imagine how the earth cried out as she was violated and taken away from her sacred responsibility? Now, and after this king did this, the men who followed him began to mistreat other well maidens until they withdrew from the world. They stopped coming, and the land dried up. It dried up, and we became what you know today, a wasteland. There was violence, suffering, and we've forgotten that sacred relationship we have to the waters, to the earth, and to the women we were sworn to protect. But he says, this grail, this is the one that bad king took. And if this healing is going to work, Percival, I need you to take it now. I need you to take this grail, and I need you to find the descendants of the well maidens, for they are still out there living on the land, and I need you to return it. You do this. You do this, and you will seal what you have begun. So Percival is full of questions. There's so much he doesn't understand, but he agrees, and he feels the strong pull that this is the quest he's meant to do. And so he saddles up with the grail, and out he rides into the woods.
The light's been drawn sideways.
For many years, Percival wanders, becoming a part of the woods himself. Begins to have little grubs and beetles making a home in his beard and hair. His hair grows long. And he changes in subtle ways, growing wiser, more open. And as he rides, he begins to hear a music deep in his heart, and he listens to that music, and it calls him on, it calls him forward. It's nudging him in the right direction, he feels. And this music begins to grow louder and louder until it's all he can hear. Let's hear it now.
At night when I slide into sleep,
much to his astonishment, this music leads him to a band of woods people living in little huts along a riverside. And as he rides into town, he's bid to stop and to lay his weapons down. This is a place of peace, my friend, says the spokesperson. This is a village of lovers. You must drop your weapons here, and he does so. And he continues on foot, guiding his horse, until he's surrounded by this group of people, and he's looking around. These faces, they look a little suspicious, but kind, open, welcoming. And then he's astonished to see there, there's the maiden, who claimed to be a cousin of his, the one who told him such a fool for not asking the question the first time he saw the Fisher King. And he saw there the loathly lady, the one who had came to the court and chastised him. And he saw there the face of his very own mother, who he thought was dead and gone. And he fell to his knees and he wept. And together they began to sing. Tuning up their lutes. Make sure they hit the right notes here. They did Percival to rise and join them in a circle of song. You all are invited to join in on this song too, to call and response. It goes a little something like this. We are the keepers, we are the keepers of the flame, of the flame. We are the weepers, we are the weepers, nourishing rain, nourishing rain. Ancestors speak now, ancestors speak now. Hearken dear, hearken dear. Earth, wind, water, earth, wind, water. We're right here, we're right here. a circle among these strangers who are friends and family. And he sees one in that circle, a fair young maiden with bright red hair. And he feels a sense there that he must approach her, and he does so. He kneels down before her, and out of his satchel he brings the grail that has been kept so long in the castle of the Fisher King. And he hands it out to her. It shines so brightly in the sun, glittering gold with jewels. She takes that grail and she bids him to rise. And from her own satchel she brings out a crown. And he recognizes it as the crown of the Fisher King. And she says to him, "The Fisher King has gone on now. He is at peace. But if you will swear to protect the Grail, the Maidens of the Wells, and this relationship, this sacred bond between humans and land, well, it is my duty to crown you as the new Fisher King." And he said, "I will." He received the crown along with a sacred contract to do the work every day of healing the land and of healing ourselves. And here's what they sing. One day, when the shops all close, there'll be blood on the streets, I know. I'm gonna turn my back, I'll put the concrete behind. Into the hills I'll bide my time. In the wild world, open arms, open eyes, open arms, open eyes. In the wild world, open arms, open eyes. Now, thank you all. Before we close our time together, I invite you now to honor this story by turning to a neighbor and just taking a moment to share with one other person something in this story that spoke to you, that touched you. One particular aspect or detail, or maybe something about how you're feeling after hearing it now. So let's take a moment to do that now before we close.
What
Mia Kaneen.